Hi, my name is Fatima, and I welcome you all to Life Unfiltered. On today's story, I'm going to talk about the Revenge Mother. This story has been on my mind for a very long time, and I thought to share with you all. The story highlights different aspects of life, but what stood out for me is the love, strength, passion, and resilience of a mother, and the extent at which a mother can go to do everything and anything for her loved ones. So our story took place in Germany, and the main character in our story is Marianne Bachmeier. So before I move on with the story, I would like to ask for you all to subscribe, please. Okay, so now that you've subscribed, let's just move on and start with this story. So I'll give you a little background of who Marianne Bachmeier is, and then we move on from there. So Marianne Bachmeier was born in the northern part of Germany, Lubeck, northern part of Germany, on 3rd of June 1950. The time of her birth was a bit tough on everyone. Like at the time of her birth, things were really tough because it was at the time where new borders were being drawn post World War II. So Marianne spent most of her early years in a refugee camp after her parents had fled a place which was previously known as Prussia, I believe. So it was said that Marianne had grew up in a religious family, like in a very strict and religious environment. And it was also mentioned that her father was a decorated Waffen-SS soldier, which was a combat branch for the Nazi party's organization. It was mentioned as well that her father was a delusional man, and he, Joseph Bachmeier, he refused to believe that Hitler was dead, and every night, he would sit Marianne on his lap and tell her how when the Führer, in his words, Hitler, returns, he would make him a general. Joseph Bachmeier also, he was an authoritative man. He's full of himself, and it was mentioned that he was a heavy drinker. He spends a lot of time at a bar that was close to their home, a pub that was close to their home. It was also mentioned that whenever he's abusive, so whenever he returns from his filled day of drinking, he would abuse Marianne and her mother. This went on for a while, and when the abuse became prominent, Marianne's parents divorced. We thought that was it, and probably she would have a better life. So her mother went on to get remarried, and unfortunately for Marianne, this wasn't what she had envisioned for herself. It wasn't the life she wanted for herself, and she went on to describe her stepfather as a dictator. And she also mentioned that he was a truck driver by the day and a pro wrestler at night. So it wasn't great. This wasn't helping matters in Marianne's case. So given the way she had seen the behaviors of her stepfather, she refused to accept him as her stepfather, and she went on to address him as Uncle Paul. And oh no, he didn't like that. And unfortunately for Marianne, it became not what she had wanted, obviously, and physical violence became the new normal in her life. As time goes by, now Marianne 15, She had grown into an attractive young girl, and at this point in her life, she came across a boy from a Wolof family, and instantly she fell in love with him. Their relationship went on for a while. She would sneak out of the house at night to meet her new lover, and through the course of the relationship, she got pregnant. And upon finding out, her boyfriend left her and ended up dumping her. And whilst at that, her family found out about the pregnancy, and Uncle Paul wasn't happy about it, so he kicked her out of the house. After kicking her out of the house, like the night he sent her out of the house, she went to a park, and that was where she slept on a bench. Marianne's mother then secretly rented a flat for her, and her half-sister was smuggling food to Marianne's place. But sadly for Marianne, this didn't last long because Uncle Paul found out, and he was enraged. He was furious that this was happening behind his back, and that ended abruptly. And unfortunately, that ended in a fist show. He was upset. Moving on. 3 months before her 17th birthday, Marianne welcomed her first baby. She knew she couldn't take care of a child, and she gave up the child for adoption. Less than 2 years later, she met a guy and she fell in love with that person. They were in a relationship for a while, and then she got pregnant again for the second time. At this point in time, she knew she couldn't raise a baby because she wasn't in a good place in her life to do so. So she had already made the decision that she's going to give up the baby for adoption. So one night, while she was still pregnant with her second child, she got attacked. And unfortunately for Marianne, she was sexually assaulted, and the attacker had a knife to her throat, and he threatened to kill her if she tell anyone about what happened to her. But Marianne wasn't having it. She just wasn't ready to sit quiet, to remain silent after all that had taken place. So she went ahead to inform the police, and they arrested the attacker. So in between the attack, the assault, the arrest, Uncle Paul found out about it, and he didn't take it lightly. So he did what he does as usual. He kicked her out of the house for the second time. And through this period, with everything going on in her life, it took a toll on her, which makes sense. It would weigh down on her because it's just too much. She's pregnant, she got assaulted, her family were not by her side. Uncle Paul sent her out of the house. This pushed Marianne to the edge, and she decided to take her own life. But fortunately, the doctors were able to revive her and save her baby. Shortly after then, she welcomed her second child. But this time, the baby's father's family decided to adopt the baby. So she gave up the baby for adoption. And just as time goes by, shortly after her second delivery, Uncle Paul died. His demise gave Marianne the room to move in back with her family and have her life together, basically. So she moved back in with her mom and her half-sister, and in no time, she got a job at a very good pub in Lübeck, Germany. So as she was working there in the pub, she became everyone's favorite. Everyone liked her. luckily for Marianne, everyone loved her, and there were different people coming to her with their proposal and so on. But Marianne didn't really want to like have a relationship with the people that were coming to her. Instead, she had her eyes on another person, and this person was the owner of the pub. So somehow they got together and started dating, and through the course of that relationship, she got pregnant for the third time. And this time, the father, Christian, like the person that got her pregnant, wasn't ready to become a father in his life, and it's not something that he even planned on doing. So at that point in time, Marianne knew she had to come up with a decision. So she had a couple of options, and one was she would have the baby and then give up the baby for adoption, or send the baby to a foster home care. So as time goes by, she gave back, and for some reason she didn't follow through with those options that she had. Instead, she continued to care for her baby. She would take the baby to work with her, and at night she would leave the baby. While the baby is sleeping, she would enjoy her life, like, enjoy the nighttime, party a little bit, and just have fun. And this went on until when the baby reached an age where she wouldn't like be brought to work, and then that was when like Marianne's routine and that of her child changed. So the name of the baby she had, her third baby, is Anna Bachmeier. So a lot of people, like, let me just tell you a little bit of Anna. Anna Bachmeier, now 7 years old. A lot of people who knew Anna say that she's a smart, amazing child. She's an independent child that does everything for herself. Like, she's smart, and people would often address her as a child that is smarter for her age. And even her mother, Marianne, would address her as a tiny adult because the girl is just amazing. So on the day that this story took place, Anna Bachmeier woke up, got out of bed, got herself ready for school, and while Marianne was still asleep. And this is a normal routine for the mother and baby. She would wake up, get ready, and leave for school while her mom sleeps in the morning because she works all night. So it was just a normal routine for them. So Anna got ready, and she just decided, I'm going to skip school today, because she was still mulling over an argument she had with her mother the day before. So she decided, I'm not going to go to school today, and that was it. So she got ready and left the house, and then after leaving the house, she decided, okay, let me just wander off, like, let me just go somewhere and pray. So she did just that, because she said if she's going to skip school, she can't stay at home, obviously, because her mom is going to see her at home. So she wanders off, and that same day, when Marianne woke up, she had an appointment, and she was like getting ready to leave for the appointment. And so she thought to herself, Anna must be in school by now. So she left for her appointment like as planned. So that same afternoon, when Marianne Bachmeier returned home, she couldn't find Anna at home. She looked for her everywhere, but she couldn't find her. At first, it wasn't alarming, like, she thought maybe she might have gone somewhere, which wasn't the normal, like she always finds her home. But this particular day, she wasn't home. She looked for her everywhere, and obviously, every parent would be concerned, because she got back home and her daughter wasn't there. So the next day, a police officer called Marianne Bachmeier and he gave her the sad news that they had a man in custody who confessed to killing Anna Bachmeier. I know this is tough, like I don't know like what she went through or how she took the news, but it is sad. So apparently the man in custody is someone they knew, a neighbor, and his name was Klaus Grabowski, age 35, who was a previous sex offender, and he lived in the neighborhood. So now that Klaus is in custody, let's discuss about what he had mentioned. While Klaus Grabowski was in police custody, he said in his argument, he said that he did what he did for a good reason. On that day, like on the day Anna went missing, apparently, I have mentioned for a fact that she wandered off, like she wanted to go off somewhere and play. So she actually went to Klaus's house because he had cats and she wanted to play with them, and it was, like a child, like she just wanted to play with the cats. So upon arriving at Klaus's house, unfortunately for Anna, this Klaus guy held her hostage. He sexually assaulted her, and then he went on to strangle her with his fiance's pantyhose. Sadly, I'm sorry. I wish there is a better way to like put this or to retell this, but unfortunately, that was what happened. And I'm so sorry I had to mention this like gory part of the story. It didn't really sit well with me, and I really wish I could have a better way of saying it, but sadly that was what happened. So after he had strangled and killed her, he got this cardboard box where he stuffed Anna's body in it, where he intended to, or rather he wanted to bury her at a canal, but luckily his fiancée found out and she turned him in. So now back to him in the police custody. Well, he said he had a good reason for doing what he had done. He said the reason why he did that was Anna Bachmeier came to him and tried to blackmail him. She asked him for money and he said no, he wouldn't give her. Then he said Anna went on to tell him that she was going to tell her mother, Marianne, that he, Klaus, tried, or rather he assaulted her, he sexually assaulted her, and Klaus, got scared and he strangled her and killed her. So he basically, like, that was his argument. And when I came across this information, I was like, Anna is just 7. Like, how dare you lay accusations like this on a 7-year-old child? She's just a child. She wouldn't blackmail you. Like, no, don't say that. Like, I was fighting, really. I was furious. And for some reasons, which were like, I was like, Well, for some reasons, this argument was like, they was saying everything and they were writing it down, and it was taken in like as a statement, and it was going to be presented in court. So let's have a little rewind. Apparently, you remembered how I mentioned he was a sex offender, right? Well, back in 1976, this Klaus guy actually sexually assaulted 2 young girls. He was sentenced on 2 counts of sexual assault, and for some reasons, like, he voluntarily agreed to get chemically castrated. This is a procedure where it's done in a hospital and a person would become impotent, and that was what happened. And back then, which I still don't get why. If a person voluntarily agreed to get castrated chemically or just to get castrated, they get lesser time in prison. Like their time in prison becomes less, which that was what happened in Klaus's case. His time in prison became less. And on top of that, a couple of years later, he had a court, like he went to a courthouse, and that court signed on a document that permitted Klaus Grabowski to reverse the chemical castration that was done on him. And it got approved. I don't know how, but it got approved. So there was a reversal of the procedure, and now he is like fine. He's no longer castrated. So upon hearing all of this from like the arrest and him being in custody and the things he said, Marianne Bachmeier was furious. She was angry that he would say something like that about her dear Anna. Like, she's just 7, like, come on, Bozo, you could have come up with a better accusation. Or rather, just shut up, because shut up, you're an evil person. So anyways, she was angry at, like, all the things he had said, and she decided he isn't a good person, and really, like, he shouldn't even be in the society to begin with. He is a predator and shouldn't be around anyone. Absolutely no one shouldn't be around anyone. So, moving on. On March 6th, 1981, which marked the 3rd day of Klaus Grabowski's trial on the murder case of Anna Bachmeier, Marianne obviously was going to court, like every day of the sitting she would be at court. So in the court, while Marianne was there, she sat there and she was listening to the court hearing, and that she sat and listened to his defense, Klaus's defense, say that Klaus was going through a turmoil in his life because he was having some hormonal imbalances due to the chemical castration he had before, and like due to the reversal and everything, like the castration had caused him hormonal imbalances. Like that was the best option they had, and like that was the best defense that they could come up with. And like really, like she was upset. No one would accept something like that. And when I saw it, I was like, really, like defense, really, is that the best you can come up with? Anyways, moving on. He was set to take the stand on that March 6th, 1981, but he couldn't take the stand. And here's why. On the same March 6th, 1981, at around 10 a.m. in the morning, Marianne Bachmeier arrived at the courtroom where she was wearing a long trench coat, and she had concealed a .22 caliber Beretta in her trench coat. So she entered the courtroom, and while she was in the court, without any sign of warning or given a hint that something is going to happen, Marianne Bachmeier brought out her weapon, aimed at Klaus Grabowski, and shot him 6 times on his back. He instantly fell to the ground and died in a pool of his own blood. Upon seeing what had happened, obviously, the cops and everyone, they came to hold her, and all at the same time trying to process what just happened. So while they tried to arrest her, Marianne Bachmeier didn't even try to resist the arrest or try to cause a scene. So they took her in and they took her away, and she was in police custody now. So while in custody, and I quote, Marianne said, "I wanted to shoot him in the face, but unfortunately, I shot him in the back. I wish she is dead. End quote. Hearing what had happened, the story of Marianne Bachmeier became viral. Every news outlet had something to say about Marianne and what she had done. And that shone a light on her story, and a lot of people were supporting what she had done, calling her a hero, while a certain percentage, like a fraction of people, were calling her a murderer. That's about like 20% of the people in Germany were against what she had done, and they called her a murderer. So while that was happening and she was still in custody, a magazine reached out to Marianne Bachmeier and they wanted to cover her story. So this magazine's name is Stern Magazine. So they covered her story and she sold the rights to her story to them. So all the proceeds that came from like covering the story and everything, she used it in her court trial as a form of payment. So now let's talk about Marianne's trial. So during her trial, she had made mention that she shot Klaus Grabowski in her dream because she saw her dear Anna in the court. So in cases like this, like psychological evaluation and exams do take place. So a doctor examined Marianne Bachmeier and he asked for a writing sample. So on the sample, Marianne Bachmeier wrote, and I quote, she wrote, "I did it for you, Anna," end quote. And she signed the document with tiny 7 hearts. And each heart represented the life of Anna while she was still alive. And this touched me, and I was like, it must be really hard on like Marianne to do all of this and to carry on like living like with the fact that her 7-year-old child was molested, was lied on, and was killed at the same time. It was just too much, and I was like, poor Marianne, like, wow. Anyways, let's move on with the story. So, Marianne Bachmeier claimed that on the day she shot Klaus Grabowski, that was on the 6th of March, she had a gun with her because she feared for her safety, and she was also going through some emotional distress, which obviously it makes sense. Like obviously she would have emotional like disturbances after all that happened. So she said like with like the whole thing that had happened to her weighed down on her. And when she saw her daughter's rapist and killer, she lost it all. She just lost everything, and that was why she decided to shoot him. And I quote, she said, "I did it for revenge," end quote. On March 2nd, 1983, Marianne Bachmeier was found guilty in the murder of Klaus Grabowski. She was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment on the counts of manslaughter, but she was let out on parole after serving for 3 years. So there were like different informations, and some sources made mention that she married a teacher after she was released from prison, and it was said that she moved to Africa, either Ghana or Nigeria. And when I saw this, I was like, oh wow, really, we would accept Marianne anytime. She's welcome. Marianne, you're welcome, we would accept you. But unfortunately, the marriage didn't last long, and it ended with a divorce in 1990. So immediately after her divorce, she moved to Sicily and she found a job working as a euthanasia aide. And yeah, that job was in Palermo. Like when she moved to Sicily, she got the job in Palermo. So a couple of years later, like while she after finding the job and so on, she was later on diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and this prompted her to move back to Germany. So after moving back to Germany, a lot of people wanted to hear from Marianne Bachmeier. So she gave a lot of interviews, talk shows and so on. And people were just interested to know what is going on in her life. They wanted an update in the life of Marianne Bachmeier. So she continued to live in Germany until the 16th of September 1996, where she passed on. So she was buried close to her daughter's grave, Anna Bachmeier, in Lübeck, Germany. So this brings us to the end of the story of the Revenge Mother. There is so much going on in this story and I have a lot to say, but I would prefer if we have a discussion about this because I am not in any way advocating for what she had done, but I know for a fact that Klaus Grabowski isn't a good person and he doesn't deserve to live because this is the same person that assaulted two young girls prior to Anna's case, and I believe he isn't a good person and he shouldn't be around anyone, and the best option for him is to die. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, but he shouldn't be dead, shouldn't be around anyone. So I would love to hear from you guys. I would love to know what your thoughts are, and I look forward to seeing your opinion, and I will be sure to read all of them and have a conversation with you all. So I would like to thank you all for dropping by, and I would ask for you to subscribe, comment, share with your loved ones, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.